Good evening, everyone. I hope you are doing well. Welcome to the Magical Coffee Hour. I'm Drake, and tonight we're going to have a little bit of fun. We're going to be talking about pathworking, more specifically focused pathworking. I'm going to be taking some of your questions on it if you have them. I'm also going to be talking a little bit about it to get us kicked off and started. And of course, um, being Magical Coffee Hour, if we wind down on questions on pathworking, we can move into other areas. Before that, I want to get a few things out of the way. First off, we do have some new things that we're looking at starting in the new year, maybe sooner, actually, and that is going to be some Rumble only content. There are a lot of projects that many of you have asked me about wanting to do and stuff, um, as like roundtable discussions and whatnot that YouTube just won't let us talk about. Let's be honest with you. And though we do have a lot of content that we are putting over to locals for our locals community and our local supporters, some of this content we also still want to be in the public realm. So we've been looking and looking and looking, and quite honestly, I have found that the best solution does seem to be Rumble. And they actually they got some really cool tools over there that they've rolled out, which can let me actually do live roundtables with multiple people or do some podcast style discussions. So we are looking at doing that. So if you haven't, be sure to follow us at Rumble because we are going to be doing some Rumble only content. We do stream Magical Coffee Hour live on Rumble and here. Last week, I forgot to stream on Rumble, and it would appear YouTube had a hiccup because I had internet, other people had internet, and then somebody in the Discord told me they're showing outages on YouTube. So um, it screwed up Magical Coffee Hour last week. What can I say? I apologize. So also follow us at Rumble in case one or the other has a hiccup again. You can still catch Magical Coffee Hour. We can continue to have some fun. Let's see. Okay, that's about got it. We are starting to roll out the Fae course. Many of you have seen that over at it's a supporters only section on Rumble, or not Rumble, locals. That is starting to roll out. We're actually hoping to get the next one out coming up here very soon. And we are getting ready to start rolling out the Norse course. Immortal's going to be working through the Norse course as I roll it out with you all for the supporters. Me and Immortal met up today and actually filmed the first one talking about basic rituals and meditations and the first 2 weeks of his class assignment. So that will be posted this week. So keep your eyes out over there if you are a local supporter. Okay. Um, Again, supporters, they get access to courses, workshops, supporter only posts and stuff over at locals. Also, locals, even if you're not a paid supporter, there's all of our announcements are over there. So it's really the best place to keep track with everything working Dragon Mystic, just so you know. Yeah, there we go. I think that's got everything. Oh, wait, no, I get yelled at every time I forget this. There is super chats. If you have a question, just give us a super chat and we'll try and answer it. As long as it's within YouTube's guidelines, it has to be family friendly ish for YouTube. You know how that works. And of course, any super chat of $5 or more with or without a question, you're put into spell working that I do every Tuesday for anyone who's done the super chat. I collect all super chats through the week and I do spell working for prosperity, well being, health, those kinds of things. General well being spell working. Okay. Groovy. All right, let's get into this. Let's start having some fun and get past the business. Immortal, it's good to see you. Welcome. I did drop some links in here early, so it's at the top. Everybody can see it. One is to the locals community, one is to Rumble, and one is to the workingdragonmystic.com website. So there you go. If you need those, they're right there for you. Do consider following us at Rumble. It'd be a big help as we roll out some of the new content. And I got some really great discussions that I'm wanting to have. Anon message. Hello. Good to see you. Glad you could join us. Aylin, welcome. Eden, welcome. Oh, yeah. And Aylin, don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoy this content. It does help with that pesky algorithm monster. It just eats up all the free like snacks. So thumbs up to us. All right, everybody. So, focused pathworking. Now, pathworking is used in a lot of different ways and in different meanings. And the tree of life and certain ceremonial practices have their own definition of it. That is true. Let's be clear what I mean when I say pathworking. Okay, let's clear that up. When I use the word pathworking, I am talking about a dedicated long term working on some system or practice for a time. You could pathwork with servitors where you're doing long term focused experiments on servitors. You can pathwork with the Norse. You can pathwork with dragons. You're setting aside everything else to put a singular focus on that thing. And usually, but not always, it means you actually don't do other things in your practice. Okay. So when we are talking about focused path working, you're really getting nitty gritty on that path working, right? So, for example, usually when I do path workings, I really do. That's the main focus of all my spell and ritual work during that time frame. And in truth, I prefer focused path workings most of the time. And when I say focused, I mean focused. So, for example, when I did my Norse path working the first time, one of the challenges that was presented to me was to touch no other magic other than Norse magic for the entirety of that path working, which, if I remember correctly, was to take a whole year. And for someone who relies on dragon magic and other things, that was a real challenge, okay? Because I really had to dive in hard onto that path working, but I got a massive amount out of it, right? Anytime you're doing a path working, you are pushing yourself deeper, further, and harder out of your comfort zone to try and learn something. Whether it be the Fey path working, whether it's a Norse path working, whether it's a path working like Dragon Magic 101. Dragon Magic 101 is technically a path working. You could repeat that thing over and over and learn new things. It is laid out in more of a class structure where you're given goals in each scenario. Um, and if you purchase a path working or you're working through a book or something like Asenath Mason has a few good path workings on things like the Goetia. When I worked through her Goetic path workings, I worked through them as they were, as she wrote them, because I wanted to know the material in its entirety before I went to altering anything. You want to avoid altering a path working if you're using a pre-designed path working the first time. You want to avoid it whenever possible. That's not to say you can't, because there are definitely reasons you can. And anyone who's getting ready to follow the Norse path working with us, there are definitely rituals and meditations in there that modern day life make very, very difficult, and you may have to alter. In fact, I had that conversation with Immortal already. So there are things that you will need to alter. Now, what is it that is required? Technically speaking, when we're doing a path working, it's about the focus and the dedication. It's a daily working usually. Um, Usually, if you have time off, it's only like 1 or 2 days a week. Okay. So it depends on how it's laid out. Sometimes it's daily. Sometimes you let the entities that you're working with dictate this. Now, generally speaking, a path working doesn't go under 5 days a week. If you're going under 5 days a week, it's not as focus driven as you would generally think of with the word path working. So, you can do 5 days, have 2 days off. That one I've seen. But there are instances where the entities will demand 6 days or even 7 days a week the whole year, no days off. So, if you're working with an entity to lay out what the path working is, make sure you're clear on what that is, what your expectations are of you. Okay. Now, if you're laying out a path working that's just you, let's say you're doing a path working studying servitors or something, you need to set up and make a dedicated time that you're doing those workings, your research, and all that. And you need to determine what you can do honestly, because really you're the judge, jury, and executioner on your own work in those cases, right? It's kind of a researching style path working. Um, Eden, mine is definitely focused, takes a lot of time. Yeah, people do that all the time. You got to figure it out. So, a lot of my research I do rotate through and I do path work it in fashion. And I usually set it up so that I'm either alternating weeks or alternating days, depending on what I'm trying to juggle at the time. Um, So with that said, does anybody have any questions on pathworking specifically? A pathworking they're thinking of doing, or how they should prepare, any of those things. The big kicker is when you're focused on it, focus on it. I would state that if at all possible, try to do, like, if you're working in a new branch of magic, try to stick to that branch whenever possible. I understand emergency situations may pop up where you need to use something more reliable, and I get that. That's fine. That doesn't ruin your path working. But don't try to do too many things at once, and don't do more than one path working at once. Okay? If you're honestly going to do a path working, you need to do the path working and not try to do 3, 4, 5 path workings, because you're only going to dilute them and you're not going to get as much out of them as you would. And that's just shortchanging yourself. Don't shortchange yourself in your practice. All right, we got several people in here. No questions on pathworking? Everybody's understanding pathworking? Immortal, what's the best thing to assist with your pathworking, like a magic tool, perhaps crystals, and how you could use that thing? In truth, like, if you ask me to name the best tool, I'm going to actually say a journal. Every pathworking I do, I get a journal and I dedicate it to that pathworking. Like, here is actually the journal I was using during my Norse pathworking. And I'm still using it anytime I dive back into that pathworking. I did an entire pathworking focused strictly on the runes one time. I did a 6-month runic pathworking. I have a journal strictly for that. I did not include that in my Norse pathworking because this is set aside as a very specific style pathworking. And if you guys are interested in the runic pathworking I did, let me know. That might be something we talk about and do some sharing on, because that was an intense little rune thing we got going there. So for all pathworkings, the most important tool in my mind is going to be your journal. This one I don't have labeled. I've got reasons for it, but this in and of itself was dedicated to a very specific pathworking in and of itself. And that was probably one of the most enlightening, eye-opening pathworkings of my career. Honestly, truly, that one was a little crazy, but that's why. And I didn't label it for multiple reasons, but it was also one of the first really deep, hardcore pathworkings I did. So I didn't think to label it outside of that, if that makes sense. Now, that said, after your journal, look at the pathworking you're doing, right? Many of you on the Fey pathworking know that some kind of physical representation of a Fey star is going to be needed for that Fey pathworking. I recommended an inexpensive little Fey star pendant like this. And I like this because I do like something, you can touch, feel, tactile. Though you could also draw it or carve it into wood if you wanted. So something like that. Now, if you're doing a crystal pathworking, you might need some crystals. Norse pathworking. There's a lot of Norse pathworkings that I've seen that require specific candles. They require specific paint, like red paint, and how you're going to alter the paint for the pathworking in the form of what you would call a tiver. Of course, many of them call for you to go get a hammer so you can make your own sacred melnyorn to use in rituals. And so it will differ from pathworking to pathworking. So if you're making your own, you need to think about it and consider what you're doing. If you're using a pre-constructed one, the good ones should tell you what you're going to need, or at least tell you in the section where they show up that you're going to need them. Some will put all the things at the beginning. Some will put it in the section where it shows up. In Dragon Magic 101, you all know that I tried to let everyone know what you're going to need for the class. And even though the staff isn't needed until 103, you start working on it in 101. So it's talked about and everything, but it's not needed for it. So those kinds of things. So some of the tools that are needed or most important will change from pathworking to pathworking based on what you're doing. The one tool that for me has been a lifesaver and has been with me on every pathworking is that journal where I can keep my thoughts, my feelings, my records, and go back and read it. In a Pathworking journal, I do recommend quick, immediate after ritual notes, but I also recommend after a little bit when you've had time to calm down and everything and your head's focused, then going back and writing in very legible writing, because straight after ritual, my writing is not legible. So I usually have like a composition book where I'm writing those notes, and then I'll meditate on things, calm and get focused, and then I will legibly take time to slowly write and print so I can read it. My handwriting's atrocious, people. So that would be my answer for the tool question there, Immortal. Good question. And for those doing the Fey pathworking or the Norse pathworking we got coming, we do talk about the tools, okay? So don't worry about that. We make sure you know what you need and how to work around them, the pros, the cons, those kinds of things. Eden, I've been blah, 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 blah. I've been actively stopped by my guide from doing other magic because they knew it would put too much on my plate. Yeah, that's actually very common. Either A, you end up burning yourself out and getting nothing out of either side of the working, or you dilute it to the point where you don't really learn anything. Path workings, if they're done correctly, do get intense. They really do. And they're supposed to. They're supposed to push you very far out of your comfort zone. Okay. But that's what helps you grow. That's what helps you learn. And it's really crazy how they work, because like you'll come out of a ritual, and this happens to me all the time in a path working, where I come out of a ritual and it's like, I don't think a lot happened. But then I'll start going about my day or doing whatever I'm doing, and just like insight, wisdom, things just start slamming into you, thought after thought after thought after thought. And it just starts cha-ching, cha-ching. It really adds up. So you're under the effects of that path working the whole time. You're doing it, that daily cycle, the whole workings. You're constantly learning. It's not just when you're doing the rituals, it's that constant flow. And if you're doing other workings, you're actually disrupting the flow. So you're actually cutting yourself off from that potential gains and wisdom that just going through your day can slam into you. So yeah, it's a really good thing. Like if you're going to do it, do it. Don't try to do 2, 3, 5. I've seen people try to do 6, where they're doing one path working a day from 6 different systems. Don't sell yourself short that way. Seriously. Take the time, focus, and learn the stuff that is presented fully, and pay attention. Put your focus on it. We've got this concept where we don't want to focus anymore. We don't want to pay attention. We don't want to, we want to try and do everything at once. Believe me, in magic, there is a need and a reason to develop discipline and focus. And if you can't develop them, you're never going to get past 101. You're probably never going to get halfway through 101 without the discipline and focus. So not only do you get more out of the path workings, it also helps you train that discipline and focus. And those are amazing things to have, if that makes sense, people. Good question. Any other questions? And again, I do want to apologize for the whatever happened to the stream last time. We're not sure. We're assuming it was outages because internet was working here, so we're not sure what happened. But like I said, if we have any other problems, just let me know. Hopefully it didn't happen again, because I'm not having any more questions, but we will see. All right. If I don't have any more pathworking questions, do you all have, I can open the table for general questions abroad if you got those. We can hear you. Yay! Thank you for letting me know you can hear me. We appreciate that. I will admit I'm paranoid after last week's debacle. So thank you for that, Eden. So I've got a new project that I'm wanting to do that was inspired by a recent cryptid show that I watched, where they're using an old style classification where they're trying to figure out, is it a Lazarus species, a new species, or a previously known species, those kinds of things. And they're looking into different cryptids. And many of you know I love cryptids, right? Hellhounds have always been a personal favorite of mine. But there's a lot of cryptids I grew up hearing about, and I'm wanting to start diving into, and I'm actually going to start pulling some stories and stuff like that. And I'm going to actually try to, as I build these research files, I'm going to be sharing them with you all with the stories I get that I can share, those kinds of things. Now, my focus for this, because there's way too many cryptids, I need some kind of focus. So I'm going to another area that is kind of important to me, and it's one I haven't really thought to look at. I am actually going to start building these files, trying to focus on the Appalachian cryptids. So this is a lot of cryptids, monsters, ghosts, goblins, spooky stories all through the Appalachian that I want to try and focus on and dive into, both with a scientific eye and a metaphysical eye, and try to sort through these, because some of these things may actually just be the same cryptid with different names, right? There's a lot of stories in the Appalachia where I do wonder if multiple things by different names are actually just the same thing. I do wonder that. Um, but then there's other things that I don't really think I have a reference for. Um, so I'm going to be diving into that project. Um, some of those will be on YouTube, and all of them will be on Rumble, because there are some of them that I don't know if I can actually tell those stories well on YouTube without getting in trouble. So that's going to be something I'm going to start building, and I'm actually going to explain the classification on how it's going to work and those things and what I find. That being said, whether you're watching on Rumble or whether you're watching here, if you have an encounter with a cryptid, whether it's the Appalachia or not, and you would like to share that encounter with me, do feel free to either message me on Discord. You can find our Discord through locals, or you can email me at workingdragonmystic@gmail.com, your particular cryptid story. Just in the title of the email, put cryptid story and put your name so I know who you are. Um, and I will read through your account and I will put that in my records for that particular cryptid. And I may consider sharing it here on the channel if you're okay with that. And if you want, some of them, um, Rumble gives me the ability to have live chats and stuff. So I might actually have you come on to some of the, um, I might have some people come and tell their story live during one of the podcasts that we're going to be doing, because it gives me that ability to just bring you on live and have that conversation, kind of podcast style, to share what's happened for that particular encounter. Edinburgh, I would be happy to contribute my not deer one. I'll get it written out. That would be great. The not deer. That is a great Appalachian cryptid. A lot of people haven't heard about it outside the Appalachia. And they're like, this is one me and a few friends have discussed. And I'm not going to lie, Ed, I'd appreciate that, because this is actually one of the cryptids I'm planning on. We've actually got this on the table as one we want to do some research on. I'm looking at putting together a not deer video, hopefully early next year is what I'm hoping, because we're getting into the holidays. I got to start cranking. We got to start talking holiday stuff eventually. I know I'm stalling and putting it off, but anyway, but this is one of those debates. Like I spoke to so many people in the Appalachia and outside the Appalachia, and there's a debate: is this thing something uniquely its own, or is this related to a skinwalker? Because it does share similarities with certain skinwalker myths. So, that's one of the debates that's there, and I'm hoping to be able to um, get some accounts and talk to some people, and try to bring the evidence forward, and not necessarily find an answer, but present enough evidence that you could reach your own conclusion, whatever your conclusion is. Your conclusion may not be my conclusion. You know what I'm saying? That kind of thing. Definitely one of the creepier ones up there for sure. It's a really good one. Another one I'm looking at is the Wampus cat. Anybody in the Appalachian, you know what I'm talking about. I had my own personal encounter with the Wampus. That is one big ass, mean looking, green eyed booger. So, uh, Let's see. But like I said, if you had a cryptid encounter and it's not in Appalachia, maybe you're in the Pacific Northwest, you had a Bigfoot encounter, send that too, because I love Bigfoot stories. So chunk of my research is going to be focused on Appalachia. But as we move this cryptid thing forward and have these discussions, I still am open to hearing other encounters if you've had them. By all means, including thunderbirds. That's another one I really like. We see a lot of thunderbird activity in the Appalachia as well. Let's see. Let's see. Immortal. I need to hear more about this. What? The not a deer or the Wampus cat? Which one? Or both? We got a lot. There's a lot of weird stuff in those mountains. Like I have been to 48 states, and I have like there's an energy and a presence everywhere you go. Like I've been in the Pacific Northwest rainforest. You know, I've been around volcanoes in Death Valley, Arizona, Utah, all kinds of places. And I can say that the Appalachian Mountains, for whatever reason, has an energy and a creepiness that does not exist in other areas, right? It's weird. I can't place it. And yet at the same time, I feel so at home in those mountains. I can't explain it. Um, and that's not to say like these other areas aren't absolutely freaking gorgeous. Um, but I mean, I love getting out in nature anywhere I can get out in nature. I really do. But there's just something truly, and maybe it is because it's home. Maybe there's something to where you're born. But most of the people I've worked with and talked to, they pick up on what I'm talking about when I say it. Even people from the West Coast, they're like, you know, they spent their entire life in the Pacific Northwest, out in the bush, chasing after Bigfoot and everything, and hauntings and creepy spots. And then they get to the Appalachian, and they're like, "This is different. This is different. This is weird." And I don't know how to put it in words. That's actually one of the things I'm wanting to do. I'm actually trying to figure out what is it that when we say it's different, when we say it's weird, how do you get to the point where you can articulate what it is, what's doing that specifically, why? I actually want to try and answer that question too, if I can. Will I answer it my day? I don't know. But if I can, I'm going to sure as hell try. That's going to be one of my goals. Let's see. All of them. This is new to me. I'm geeking out over here. Hey, that works. Is it energetically alive with more than humanity recognizes, which is part of why I think it's the cause. Yeah, there's definitely an etheric aliveness. I know what you're talking about when you say that. And I do find that in a lot of other areas too, and it could just be that. But I don't want to write off the possibility of something else, because anyone who's done a lot of spelunking and exploring and getting in trouble in the Appalachia, cave systems all over that place just abound. Mammoth Cave is one of the probably largest cave systems in the world and probably most well known. But at the same time, if you pull up a cave map and you look at just how much they spread out and how much they run, it's insane how much is under those mountains, not only on them. So it's the up and the down, really. I think all of it plays a part into it to some extent. Um, but I'm trying to approach with an open mind. I always try to approach with an open mind. I will write down my thoughts, my feelings, and my theories. But when I approach it from an empty-headed point of view where I just want to collect the data. Because you don't want to try and make the data fit your thought. That's the worst thing you could ever do. That's the worst you could ever do. So I try to step away from my thought a little bit on that. If that makes sense. Let's see. I remember wandering through the woods at my grandpa's along the horse paths and up the nearby mountain, and feeling is both odd and beautiful. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. As a Washington State native who went out to visit friends in the Huntington, West Virginia area for a few weeks, the energy is definitely different. Yeah. So see, Aylin, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about there. So, and for what it's worth, like, even though I will say mostly from the people in Seattle and Tacoma. I had a very bad experience in Washington State. I gotta say that state is freaking gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. The forest, the evergreens, it's gorgeous. Um, it's a beautiful state. It really is. As far as mountains and natural wildlife and stuff like that, you guys are lucky. You really are. Um, let's see. David Riviera, is there a way to become a dragon at the highest levels of magic? No, there is not. Um, there is this theme, and a lot of it's for clicks on the internet about becoming a dragon, these things, but it's no. So you cannot actually become a dragon. Dragons are born dragons. They are always dragons. Their souls were created as dragons. And they are very, very, very protective of that because there is a responsibility that comes with it. And that is a responsibility that they would not entrust any other being in the multiverse with, unfortunately. Because I do know a lot of people who want to become a dragon. So, as far as to could you, in the highest levels, become a dragon and be viewed as a true dragon? No, you cannot. There's definitely something etherically at the very core of creation different about those beings. It's a difference even the gods themselves recognize. Does that make them better than the gods? No. Let's be clear there. We're not trying to put dragons up here on this special little pedestal. It's just they do have a very specific role and job. And because of that, that role and job puts them at an area where other things can't crisscross in. That's also the reason, like, they are so. Check out my video on rogue dragons, why they deal with rogue dragons so harshly, and why when a dragon leaves that purpose and goes rogue, why they deteriorate and die so fast. Um, so yeah, it's not something we can do, sadly and unfortunately. Now, that being said, if you work in shape shifting work, can you shape, like during journey work, could you shape shift to look like a dragon? Yes, you could look like a dragon, but you would never be a dragon. Like any entity in the multiverse looking at you would see the etheric imprint of who and what you are. They would not, they would know you just took the shape of a dragon. If that makes any sense. And I know there's a lot of people out there teaching it and talking about it. And everything I've researched from the dragons, it's a no go. Um, though I will say there's also plenty of traditions that use the term becoming dragon different than literally becoming a true dragon, like the actual dragons we work with in dragon magic. That would be a different thing. It gets confusing because they just call it becoming a dragon. But that, that's another thing that gets maddeningly confusing. Um, I've probably in storage got a stack, and I mean a stack of notebooks trying to sort out the word dragon and how different traditions and practices use the word dragon that has nothing to do with dragon magic. For those starting dragon magic, anyone who's tried to sort it through, you know what I'm talking about, because you'll run into draconic Wicca, you'll run into draconian traditions, and none of them have anything to do with dragon magic. So it becomes maddening in all the ways that they're trying to use these words. And I know that probably cost me 2, 3 years just trying to sort through that. And I'll be honest, I don't have a solution. I wish I had a solution. I still got the books and I'd have to dig them out, but it's how humans try to use the same word for multiple things. That's one of the problems. Um, Shokama, welcome. Aiden, I missed the trees turn. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is one thing when I was in Washington. I'm not a fan of the evergreen. Give me the fall colors. I loved it, man. I loved it. Um, Let's see, David Riviere. David Riviere, how does one get into Dragon Magic 103 and 104? Currently, they are not available. So at this point in time, you do have to take Dragon Magic 101 and 102 to be eligible for them, first off. We are about to start recording 103. And that one will be posted to the school when it is finished recorded, or it will be posted to locals. There's some debate on which way that's going to go. I want it to go to the online school. I want it to go to the online school. That's where I want it. Because I want all four of those to be on the online school. With some of the changes and stuff that YouTube's made, it's made keeping the lights on and paying for the school a little harder, but I want it to go on the school. So yeah, that one will be over on the school when it is up. At this point in time, they are not recorded to go up. So the people who've worked with me on Dragon Magic 103 and 104, those are private life students only that have done that. And there's only like 3 of them. So, but it will be there at the school where you signed up for 101. Let's see. Matthias! Haha, I learned how to say it. Welcome, Matthias. Hope you're doing well. Alan, some draconian magic from Luciferian traditions use similar language about becoming a dragon, but it's also metaphorical and archetype. Yeah, it's more archetype than literal. So yes, that's just another layer of confusion. You are correct, Alan. And it's one of the reasons, like, I try not to talk too much about draconian or Luciferian traditions, because as a channel where dragon magic is one of the things we talk about a lot, I don't want to further confuse people trying to sort it. And I'm trying to find a way to better communicate everything as best I can. And at some point, there's just not a way. There's just words. It's just so many words. The word dragon is so freely used. It's really difficult. All the more reason to focus on your working when you're doing it, right? Let's see. David Riviera, just on 101, but I'm worried because it doesn't appear on the page. It's not on the page because it's not recorded. So it will be on the page when it's recorded. If for some reason that changes, I will let everyone know where it's going to be. But to get into 103, you will have to have completed 101 and 102. So if you're starting 101, go through it, take your time, do the lessons. Because 101 should take 6 to 8 months by itself. And then you got another 6 to 8 months in 102 before you're ever going to be over to 103. So unless something weird happens, because we've had filming issues, we have had some bad filming delays. But even with filming delays, 103 should be out if you work your way through those and don't rush it. Because if you rush it, you're just going to get yourself in trouble in 103. And you don't want to get in trouble in 103 because there's no unfucking the pooch if you do that. Sorry, YouTube. Let's see. Matthias had family over for dinner, so I was afraid I'd missed MCH completely. Nope. We started doing MCHs a little later, so it's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time now, I think is the times. I'm still learning them. I used to be able to rattle off MCH times reflexively, and now I'm having a little trouble. I did mention we are going to start having some Rumble only content, Matthias, so make sure you are following us over at Rumble as well. And I mentioned, if you go back and watch, we do have some Appalachian cryptid research projects that we're going to get ready to undertake and start sharing with the community. And also asked if you have any cryptid experiences, whether it be Appalachian or not, feel free to email workingdragonmystic@gmail.com with that experience. And we may even have you on a new podcast we're getting ready to launch over at Rumble to chat about it. With the holidays coming up, though, a lot of the new things may not kick off till after the holidays. I'm going to try and get some stuff up and running, though, beforehand. I may pop over there and talk about my cryptid research a bit more, where I can speak freely without having to worry and dance around topics. MCH will remain both on Rumble and YouTube unless YouTube decides to banish me, which I don't think they're going to vanish us. I really don't. I do worry about the monetization stuff sometimes, but I don't think they're going to vanish us. I think some people are overly worried about that, but it's nice that people care. You know, they actually care and think about the future of my channel. Either they're getting a lot from the channel or they just love to hear a Southern redneck wizard rant. I don't know which it is. Maybe it's both. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Immortal got it. We'll keep you busy for 2 years or more. Yeah. There's people still working on 101 and 102. It's crazy. I do not have a filming date for 104. 104 is actually the one I expect the least people to actually make it to, because it's cray. But I do plan to film it because somebody will get there, and I want to make sure the information's available. Let's see. Don't rush into them. You can cause problems rushing into magic you aren't ready for is dangerous. That is a true one. Alex22, again, can't say your name because the little device over there likes to say hello if I do. Glad you can make it. Hope you're doing well. Mugs up to you. Mathis actually finally joined Rumble and Locals. Awesome. That's right. I did see your name pop up. Awesome. Good. That means we'll be seeing you over there. Looking forward to it. Wait, really? About the Appalachian? Yeah. I'm actually looking to do some Appalachia cryptid research. It's just I really want to dive back into cryptid research, building up profiles and stuff like that, and gathering up stories and trying to cross connect it. And I was actually inspired by a recent show, can't remember the name of it, but and I thought that's what I want to do. I actually want to try and put together more of a scientific profile. And to narrow it down, I decided, like, I've been wanting to research the Appalachia, right? It's my home. I grew up there. I love that area. And yet my metaphysical practice has never focused on the Appalachia. So I decided I'd narrow it down to the Appalachia as the main focus of my research, even though I'm not going to cut out all cryptids outside the Appalachia, because I do think there's a lot of cross-referencing that we could do. And I think it's going to be, at least for me, it's going to be fun. Hopefully you guys enjoy the journey and discussion as well. And before anyone asks, because this may come up, yes, I actually do plan to talk about some of the alien UFO activity in the Appalachia as well. I'm just going to do it through the same rationale lens. So just because there's a light in the sky, don't expect me to blame aliens. Okay. I'm very, very skeptical when I do my research, because I'm going to debunk before I just jump into belief. And one of the reasons, like, I lost drive in UFO research was because everyone assumed everything was a flipping alien when it had like 50 excuses, 50 reasons and plausible explanations, or in many cases, it was proven it wasn't. And they're like, no, it was aliens. They're just trying to cover it up. So that kind of zealotry desire to believe no matter what evidence is presented drove me away from the UFO community and research. But I do think there's a valuable area of discussion there. And I do want to talk about UFOs and stuff like that more on the channel, because I'm going to be that example of rationale in the discussion, if that makes sense. So I'm going to try and do that as well. Say, yep, you were going to do research there too, right, Matthias? I do believe, Matthias, yeah, not to do myself, but local to the lower parts of the Appalachian area. I'm working on starting my own investigation project, which will cover both paranormal and cryptid. Yeah, that makes sense. And honestly, I'm going to be looking at some of the paranormal stuff out there too. And in fact, if I can, like, as I get my team put back together, if one area has enough sightings or whatnot, I may actually take my team out there to boots on the ground some of this stuff if I can, if they're up to it. So Immortal and the rest of my team who is thinking about getting into paranormal work with me, I might be dragging us out after some cryptids if you're up to it. So grab your hiking boots and a backpack. You might need it. But we're going to need a good solid lead before we boots on the ground or cryptid. Okay. Just my 2 cents. Mathis, actually, if you don't mind, this is completely up to you, or Matthias, as you get your research up off the ground and everything, if you're up to it, if you can share in your findings, who knows, we might be able to put together a joint boots on the ground effort one day in the future. You never know. That'd be fun, I think. Um, but that's only if you're up to sharing it and doing something. Just let me know. Let's see, Matthias, I can say I have close friends that have cryptid sightings around here. Some of them pretty recent. Again, if they want to share their sightings and email them to me as things to add to my research and possibly even talk about on the channel, let them know. Give them the email address. Let them know about the channel. I'd be happy to hear them. I love it. Oh yeah, it can be slow setting those things up. It can. Yeah, I'm not big on social media either. Like what was it? Facebook did me dirty. So yeah, I don't really even have Facebook anymore. I keep telling myself I'm going to start using my social media again. Like, I think Working Dragon Mystic still has an active X account. I think we do. And like posting over there, talking about what we're doing would be a great idea. I'm so bad at it. Like, I wonder if I could horseshoe my wife into doing that. Sure, probably not. She'll probably shank me for suggesting it. I need to get me a social media manager because I suck at it. Immortal. At least Immortal's ready for boots on the ground. But you'll need to make a video about the do's and don'ts so I can watch it on repeat. The do's and don'ts of the Appalachia. That actually would be a fun one. That really would. That'd actually probably require more than one video, in truth. But yeah, don't worry. We'll keep you safe. I'm not going to drag you out in the woods in a dangerous way. I'm not going to do that. I'm nicer than that. I wouldn't do that. I'm not going to take my crew out there and put them in danger. Okay, so don't worry about that. But that is not a bad. That's a pretty good idea for a video, though. Let's see, Matthias. I'd be honored to be honest, Drake, but I do have to get the ball rolling on my end. No problem, mate. No problem. No problem. I love. There's just something about getting out and doing this kind of research. It's fun. I don't know. It's a great way. Let's see. Eden Discord's one of the few medias I have. I can understand that. I can understand that. Also, like for the younger generation, I don't know how you keep up with your social media. Like the very few things I have, my phone won't shut up. It's always going bing, 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 bing. It's like seriously. And then I got people who like they're keeping up with 3, 4, 5 social media accounts. It's like, how do you maintain your sanity? Or then again, maybe they're not sane. Maybe that is the problem. Maybe I'm the sane one. And people, if I'm the sane one, we got a problem. We got a problem if I count as the sane one. Oh dear God, I haven't heard about Tumblr in like 10 years. I didn't even know that site was still up and active. Okay. Yeah, people's asked me to do TikTok. I won't do it. I can't do it. I just can't do it. I can't. Um, see, Immortal. I can see it now. Immortal. Yay, Drake. What's up? I didn't say anything. Where did Immortal go? Oh, that would suck. Eden, I don't understand how my generation uses social media either. It's so much. They are distracting themselves from pain through using it all the time. LOL. You know, I've actually, it's interesting you say that, Eden. I've actually been speaking with a few magicians, a couple shamans, and other mystics that they actually have put forth the concept of social media as an attention sucker and a coping mechanism that can be as addictive and worse than alcohol, especially to like a metaphysical practice. And at first, I kind of laughed it off. I really did. I kind of laughed it off. I was like, I mean, it's bad, but I don't know if it's that bad. But then they got to talking about, the dopamine hit by the little flippy, flippy, swipey, swipey, and haha, new funny, new funny, new funny, and how quickly you can go down the random video laughter hole and lose like a whole afternoon. I think most people's done it on one thing or another, and really to no gain of yourself. So you're just kind of escaping. And they were talking about the people they know, and when they do it most, it's they've had a rough day or something, a bad day, and instead of sitting down and processing their day, they just go straight down the TikTok hole. And they've also made notes of skilled magicians actually degrading as they go down these dopamine social media um, self-confirming little things. Um, it's an interesting thought. It really is. And I mean, I would say it even holds merit. I've had a few conversations with a psychologist or two that would agree. Is there meat to that? I think more people need to look into it. I don't know I'm qualified to look into it, but I do think there might be something to it. And the fact that you phrased it the way you did really fits in with what these guys are seeing and talking about. So, you know, it's I caught myself doing it, and I've honestly stopped. Like I don't go there. I do not pull my phone out and go to like I haven't been on TikTok in probably 6, 7, 8 months. Um, but even like YouTube Shorts, I will flip through that on a very specific time frame. Like if I'm sitting waiting on water to boil when I'm making tea or making a pot of coffee, I'll flip through it until that's done, and then I'll get on doing whatever I'm doing. Right, little things like that. So it has a very short window um, that I can control it because there was a time I lost a day or two to those things. It can be crazy. It's an interesting thought. It's an interesting thought. That's the kind of shit I will sit and think about now. Um, you know, because self improvement and self mastery are so important to me. It's like self mastery, self improvement. Those come from knowing where you're spending your time. Why are you doing it? How is your time benefiting you? Right. And I do truly believe everything you do with your time should benefit you in some way. That's not to say you can't have fun, because I do think fun benefits you. But you also need to make sure you're doing those things in proportion, because fun can help, but there's a point where fun ends up becoming an escapism too. So, there's that dynamic balance that we always talk about in Dragon Magic. And I don't know if I'm the one that might be something I spend a little time meditating on. Maybe we'll actually have a discussion on that sometime here on the channel, because it's an interesting topic, and it's actually, I would even dare say it's an important topic for this day and age, because it's everywhere. That stuff just jumped out of practically nowhere and hit us so fast that we really don't know how to deal with it, because we had none of that stuff when I was a kid. None of it. Most of this stuff appeared 2000 or after, so it's been less than 24 years for us to adapt to this mass social media craze. It's a little crazy when you think about it. Yeah, don't whistle after dark in the Appalachia. That's true. Magic requires you to face challenges, and tech allows you to avoid it. Well, that's definitely one of the variables that I would absolutely agree with that. That is an absolute variable right there. Um, I've been taking observations for years of my peers. I can send you my observations and data if you want. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Send me if you've got some observations and data. I'd love to read through it happily. Who knows? I may even get you on that the new podcast at Rumble if you're up to it to discuss it, because I honestly think having people in the younger generation in these discussions is important, because if we got a bunch of old timers like me who can, like, we didn't grow up with it, it's just we're just going to look like the old man in the yard who don't like change, right? So I think it is important that we do bring in some of the younger people to discuss this as well. So if you're up to it, feel free to email me that. Just put in the title who you are, what it is, why you're sending it. That way it don't get lost. Alex222, I heard that a lot of people practice magic in the Appalachian Mountains, and a lot of cryptids, unfortunately. Let's see, let me read this again. I have heard that a lot of people practice magic in the Appalachian Mountains, and a lot of cryptids, unfortunately. I live in Arkansas, pretty but not known for things. Lots of quartz, I guess. Um, I've heard of hauntings and cryptids in Arkansas. I really have. Um, is Arkansas where the Gowrow was? It might not be Arkansas. But no, I'm pretty sure you guys got your fair share. And yeah, there's a lot of people who practice magic in the Appalachia, and many of them don't even realize they're doing it, but most of them do. Um, there's a lot of old traditions and that hold that are still used. Some of them even refer to themselves as root workers to the point, but yeah, there's a lot of that old folk magic in the Appalachia. There's a lot of it out there. Um, Aiden, I like keeping tabs on my mental. It's good to keep tabs on your mental health. It is. It really is. Many of you know, like the Tyson fight happened Friday, and I've been stressed. So, I gave you all the announcement that I was going to take the night off. I was going to unwind. I was going to relax. I was going to watch the fight. I hadn't saw Tyson fight in years. I knew he was getting up there in age, so it's like I wasn't expecting Tyson in his prime, but it's just going to be a nice night to relax, kick back, and enjoy watching a fight again. And I actually watched all the fights that night. And it was a good breather. It really was. You got to do it. I try not to take time off when I'm supposed to be on here talking with you all. I try my best not to do that. Because, well, I'm here to try and help y'all. I'm here to try and answer questions. I'm here to try and help with the self mastery and stuff. So, all those little things, I can't do that if I just disappear. And I try to take what I do seriously too. It's not like I'm just randomly here on YouTube at random intervals. I try to keep a schedule so you know when to expect me, those kinds of things. Immortal, I whistle randomly. Oh yeah, don't do that on the Appalachia, dude. Don't do that. Try to kick that habit before we get out there. Let's see. We have the Legend of Boggy Creek. They made it. Yes, that is true. That is true. And why is that going off? Oh, that's why that's going off. Okay. Um, that is true. You guys do have the Legend of Boggy Creek. Let's see. Boy, my dog is 14 years old and is sick now. He has a lymph node tumor, cankerous, of course. Can't or yeah. We're interacting with a vet for therapy, but he's old and so not much to be done. Are there any spirits that could help? I'll be honest with you. You could reach out to Odin. Odin's actually really good with dogs. However, any entity that is good with dogs and loves dogs, they will do what they can to help him. But they're more likely, depending on the type of dog, because he is old, they may more likely ease his transition to the other side than just have him stick around longer. That is unfortunately a reality. The transition of life and death is part of the natural cycle, and it's a cycle that they don't want broken for many, many reasons. Um, so reaching out to someone like Odin would be a good one. I've had success with the Morgan actually when it comes to dogs. A lot of people forget about her. Um, you could also reach out to Ear. Ear has a lot to do with healing and caregiving and stuff like that. Very good. Um, Freyr's also a good one when it comes to wildlife and animals. One that people don't think about, that they don't think about, is Hell or Hades. Both of them love dogs. They like the animals. And both of them deal with that transitional phase that is true, but they can also make sure they won't extend, but they're usually good about not taking early without reason. So they can actually be a big help in that, especially if the dog itself it hasn't reached its technical transition point. So those would be entities that you could think about looking into that are relatively easy to contact and work with. My go-to for that would probably be Odin or Hell, just because like when it comes to sitting and talking dogs, well, I'll be honest, me and Hades, I think the last 7 times I've worked with Hades, we done whatever we were working with, and it evolved into a conversation of dogs. So those three would probably be my most likely go-to. Not knocking Frere in any context, because Frere's great with animals, he really is. It's just when it comes to repertoire, those are the ones I have the best repertoire with and I think about. And I've worked with Hades early in my career, and him and I really bonded over dogs. So that's something that him and I is always going to share, if that makes sense. Um, and my condolences to your family. I know what that's like. It sucks when a family member's ill like that. Let's see, Tyson hadn't fought in 19 years. Last fight was 2005. Um, you know what? I'm proud of Tyson. I really am. He had a lot of injuries. There was a medical scare um, to train to get in shape, being 58. And yeah, I think he did well looking at it as a fighter. From people who watch fights, they may not have been as impressed by it, but I was I was proud of him. Now, that Jake Paul guy, okay, I don't know a lot about Jake Paul, and looking him up, researching him, getting ready for the fight and stuff. Um, I was not impressed by this guy. Like, I was like, this dude acts like an egotistical narcissist that looks like some YouTuber just trying to get clicks by being an idiot. What until after the fight, go figure, that I found out he actually did start as a YouTuber, because they done that little thing where they talked about him, and he's apparently got his start as a YouTuber. Now, at that same time, looking at his earlier content where he was a tiny little guy to looking to, he's bulked up in his training. So I don't want to say, he's just a gimmick. I don't want to say that. But his attitude really left a lot for me. I was not impressed with his attitude. Like, I absolutely hate egotistical shits like that. However, that being said, and people in the Discord, because for whatever reason we were talking in the Discord about the fight that night. Um, I gave him absolute props because at the end of the fight, he was very respectful. He was very honorable. He handled it well. I did not see that or expect that coming from him. And I had to actually say, you know what? He gets credit because he gave credit where credit was due and he was respectful about it. So um, I might start watching more fights and see if I can look into getting some UFC stuff going because I do miss it. I do miss it. But it'd be interesting to see where he goes. I hope because a lot of people say he only fights people that are gimmickly or well selected to improve his career and no chances of really being beat. I don't know if that's a true statement or not. If that is true, that's not good. But yeah, um, I can't say enough one way or the other. Um, um, I've worked with Hecate in the past, but never concerning dogs. I don't really know. I don't want to say yes or no on that one. Um, oh, there, Aylin's got it. Yeah, okay. So yeah, so Hecate would be a decent one too. There you go. Thank you, Aylin, for jumping in and grabbing that one because I was unsure on the Hecate and dog side. Weirdly, her and I's never really talked about dogs. So thank you, Aylin. Appreciate it. Community helping the community. This is why we got the community, people. Mugs up. Uh, let's see. Mad respect for Tyson. Eden, who was originally a Disney actor. That I didn't know. Did not know that. Did not know that. Um, he must have definitely popped up in some of the Disney stuff when I wasn't watching. Didn't know that. Weird. Okay. Well, it just goes to show how a career can change. Like even my life and my career has taken different ups and downs and changes. And I'm not going to knock it. Like I said, I saw like at some of his YouTube videos where the dude was tiny. I mean, he's smaller than me. And then you look at how he's trained and how he's conditioned. That takes discipline, people. That takes focus and discipline. So even if he personality wise is coming off as a complete narcissistic jackass, there is a discipline and a focus there that I respect all the same. Um, you you can respect aspects without respecting the whole of the person. And it's not, I'm not saying I disrespect him because again, I don't know much of him at this time. I'm just at this time I say I'm not impressed with what they've shown me, though his actions in the ring that did get a point of respect in my block because that was I like the way he handled it. And that's one of the things we got to understand is people are multifaceted. And that's this day and age, people don't see the multifacets. They don't realize this person may have this personality flaw, but overall, they can be an amazing person for everything else. And I mean, you see it. It's like one disagreement, and suddenly people's cutting people out of their lives. It's redonkulous how people are all or nothing extremists these days. Um, which we need to get back into that mage minded series. This feels like a mage minded discussion, don't it, people? It's like we took the Tyson fight and started going down into the mage minded series. um, awesome to see the community hugs offered up. Yep, yep. Nice to see the support of the community for everybody. That is great. Let's see. Immortal, he's definitely on the amateur boxing level, but I don't think he is as great as he thinks. Don't know. I mean, it would be a career to watch if you're interested in boxing. They shall come. I know about dogs that the ruler of dragons of air is super good with dogs. He has helped a lot. Actually, I didn't even think about looking at the draconic rulers, but you're right. Zephyr Seal's pretty good with dogs, as is Terrafana. Both of them are pretty damn good with dogs. Uh, let's see. The time is precious. You and your pupper. Polarization is it really is, and it's like it's almost like society wants that polarization now. I don't know what's happened. It's weird. It's a weird. Though at the same time, for what it's worth, and we'll see. But I've been, I pay attention. I look at people. I watch what people do. I watch their actions. And I'm starting to see people absolutely fed up with the polarization to the point where they're kicking back and uniting and trying to find common ground and common interest. And, screw you. I'm going to sit down and have a civil conversation. So if that trend continues, that'd be pretty cool, I think. It'd get us back to a more level headed time. And Immortal's throwing clocks at me there. So it must be, yep, it's about that time. Let's see, Alex, I've heard Paul does questionable. See, I've heard that too, does questionable things for views. And even as a YouTuber or content creator, what the hell am I, people? I don't know what y'all call me. But as someone who puts content online, like there's a lot of things I could do that would get me clicks and views and subs that I won't do because it's basically peddling information that's not really going to help you in the goals of this channel with practical, um, reliable information that, this channel is built around. And some of it's just, like a bunch of edgelordy kind of stuff that's, yeah, it'll get me views, it'll get me clicks, but then I sell out on who I am. And I can't do that. I would rather the channel fail and me be truthful with what I'm telling you than just do some crap for clicks. So yeah, that's not a mentality that works with me. At the same time, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of YouTubers I've watched their channels, I see them do things. I mean, hell, I grew up on the show Jackass, right, Steve-O? So I understand the concept. It's just not a concept that really resonates with me, might be the way to say it. Not knocking it. Person's got to do what they got to do for them. Um, let's see. Could I repeat two of the names you said? I know you said Odin, Freya, Hades, but I didn't understand the other two. Was it air and hell? Yeah, it'd be air, which is EIR, is its traditional spelling, EIR, air. And hell, HEL, just one L. That's her name. Um, those would be the other two. So there you go. That's the not to be confused with Hella from Marvel Comics. So there we go. Yep. Okay. So yep. ER. Gotcha. See, Matthias. I think a mage minded on this would be good. That would be a weird. Oh, I can see us start following UFC or something and talking about respect and honor in the Mage Minded series by going over the fights. That'd be crazy. Oh, dear God. Oh, my God. That would be amazing. Let's see. All right, everybody. I'm sorry I wasn't able to get to everything here. This was a fun night. I will be back Friday, people. And we will have some more chit chats. Do be sure to follow me at Rumble. Like I said, we got a few things that we are going to roll out that will be Rumble only. Okay. And they will be lives. So that way you can participate in those live chats and discussions. I'm actually looking at actually having other people on there with me. Like Bornoldus and me is actually looking at starting a, I think weekly podcast style thing over there where we're going to be discussing different topics and get different viewpoints and whatnot from it. So yeah, make sure you are following us over there as well. Luckily, we didn't have any internet issue droppages tonight, so yay. And till then, everybody, I'll see you guys Friday. Have a fantastic week. Keep working to do the best you can on your path to self mastery and self empowerment. Remember, if you fall down, that ain't the end. Just get back up, dust yourself off, and keep on moving forward. Even if it's one step a day, that's still progress. All right. Take care. Good night.